Coming live to you from St. Augustine Beach, Florida, it's time for RecruiterCast Live. In today's talent landscape, you need to be one step ahead of your competition. Whether you're a recruiter, hiring manager, or candidate, this is the show for you. Join Dave Webb, lifelong entrepreneur, big data expert, and staffing aficionado, alongside recruiting industry vet John Purton, as they talk everything recruiting. Join our live stream now on Twitch or YouTube to interact with our panel. From entrepreneurial journeys to job descriptions to the tech that will help you land top talent, this is RecruiterCast. If you want to learn about the latest trends, then this is the show for you. Live every Thursday from 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern. You're listening to RecruiterCast Live. Now here's your hosts, Dave Webb and John Purton.
All right, man. Abrupt cutoff. We just got to kill that applause mic.
That studio is just getting more unruly every week.
If only this free streaming software had a fade feature. I looked for the complaint department, but it just goes to dev null.
And it says you get what you pay for.
That was a computer science joke.
No, I got it.
No, you didn't.
I mean, I didn't get it, but I knew what you were going for. I mean, I spend enough time around developers.
Yeah, when you hear something nerdy that you don't understand, you just...
I feel like a caveman.
Yeah.
I literally feel like I just go, yeah, fire.
The shadows on the wall are not real. Get up and walk out of the cave. All right, philosophy for the day. Done.
I'm going to write that down. That's a fortune cookie.
Red pill it. All right, today is episode 89, and we are at the Gregorian calendar date of November 4th, 2021. So thank you for joining us live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. And we are a podcast primarily. And while we give you the luxury of watching us film this audio podcast live, you can listen anytime or watch anytime after this on all of the major podcasting platforms. So thank you for joining us today. If you are joining us, we got the moderators are here. The chat is warming up. I feel like there's going to be some kind of
like a tidal wave,
some crazy energy in the chat today with Twitch. So I'm looking forward to some questions, and we will answer your questions as long as you throw them at us. And what else? We have a guest today, and we will introduce him very shortly. And he has a new book out. But before we get to that, what's on your mind? How are you doing, by the way?
I'm doing great.
I feel like sometimes I just get going and I don't check on your mental health or your well-being.
First of all, I appreciate you taking time to ask me how I'm doing and how I'm feeling.
That's the extent of our mental health benefits here.
That really is
that I ask you how you're doing every once in a while.
That's correct.
Okay.
And that's fine. That's enough for me. Okay.
Right.
Like I'm very low maintenance from an employee management perspective. But no, the only really big thing that came out today is apparently there's a new OSHA requirement starting on January 4th. I don't know if anybody's heard about it. It's something about vaccines. It seems like a big deal, seems impactful, but outside of that, there's nothing really, really exciting happening in the job market. We did have the highest, not creation, but like job adoption, like people going back to the workforce since the pandemic started. So that's huge this week. Very excited to see that.
Okay. Well, let me rewind a second.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you mentioned about OSHA getting involved with vaccine mandates.
Yes.
Okay, from a job perspective.
Yes.
What does that mean, and how is it different from what we had last week?
Yeah. So on January 4th, OSHA will begin actually doing site visits and regulating the vaccine mandate. They basically came out
for who?
For employers with 100 or more employees on a nationwide basis.
That are overseen by OSHA?
I
mean, are they going to show up here and start counting people?
I mean, I hope not, because that would be invasive.
They don't have an appointment,
and we have locked doors for that very reason.
Yeah,
but no. So it basically says that they have to give paid time off for employees to go get vaccinated. They have to wear masks if they are unvaccinated and choose to go to work. So they'll have to keep wearing a mask and they'll have to do a weekly COVID test that the company does not have to pay for. And the fines that OSHA is laying out are $14,000 per infraction.
$14,000.
Correct.
Okay, that would put a small business out of work. But I guess they're just focusing on larger ones.
100 and up. So yeah,
okay,
that came out today.
So I'm not. This isn't a troll question. This is a real question.
Okay.
I'm not trying to get you fired up.
Okay.
It seems like at this point it's been up to the states to decide what to do with this matter. Is
Sure
this
does.
the federal government trying to influence employers at a state level without state support?
I mean, I'm not smart enough to answer that question correctly, but it sure does feel that way.
Okay.
It sure does feel like there's kind of almost a bullying situation here. And it's interesting. Like for me, like I'm in Florida, we're a small company. I don't really think about it a whole lot, but boy, I think about like our PEOs. I think about the regional Chick-fil-A franchises that maybe have 2 or 3 restaurants, or, Hurricanes down the street that has seasonal staff that pops up.
Yep.
So yeah, this was a big deal. I was surprised that this was announced on a Thursday. This seems more like a Monday release for me. And the good news is our guest today is a media expert.
Yes.
So we'll ask him about the timing of the release.
Well, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I think so. I think it's time to jump right in.
All right. So our guest today is Mr. Rob Barnett. Rob has a new book out called Next Job, Best Job, and he should be on your screen right now. And
Looking good, Rob.
there with a salute.
Yes, thank you.
Nice.
We appreciate your service, sir. Thank you.
How are you, Rob?
I'm well, thanks. I'm vaccinated, but I didn't come here to talk about that topic.
Yeah, I mean, so are we. We don't really care. It doesn't matter. We're just looking at it from an employment perspective, and it's like, wow, that's going to be fun.
Yeah, we look for anything that would either constrict or loosen its grip on the flow of employment throughout the country, because that seems to be to be a pretty good indicator of prosperity for everyone.
Yep.
Right, regardless of which side of the bed you get up on.
100%.
The right side or the left side. I always get off of the foot of the bed.
Me too.
Just so I start the day in a very neutral position.
As long as the dog isn't there and in my way.
Well, you kick the dog out of the way and then you get out of the bed.
You've seen my dog? I got a German Shepherd. I'm not kicking that dog. Come
That's
on,
why
man.
your feet are always gnarled up.
That's right, man. These scars
That explains your toenails.
These scars are not from knife fights, my man.
I hear you.
Yeah. Anyway.
All right. So, Mr. Barnett, Rob, tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you, tell us about how you are in the recruiting business, what your daily interaction looks like with recruiters and the staffing and HR world, and what inspired you to write your book, Next Job, Best Job.
Well, thanks for having me on. I always tell my friends and my clients that I'm an accidental headhunter. This is nothing that I would have imagined about 30 seconds before it happened. I started my career in the radio business and had a great long run moving across this land of ours, vagabonding as a disc jockey and a program director of radio stations. In the late 80s, when MTV was the cool center of the pop culture universe, I started a long career in television at both MTV and VH1. That was a great, great part of my working life. Then I bounced back into radio. I was the president of a thing called CBS Radio, which is very strange to say out loud because there is no more CBS Radio. They merged again. Now they're called Odyssey. But I ran the programming of that thing for a while. When YouTube was a baby, 2005 and 6, I started an original online studio and network. We called it My Damn Channel. This was early. This was about 5 or 6 years before Netflix and Amazon started making original series. We weren't the one. We were one of about 100 people who believed that what the three of us are doing today was a bit of the future of what used to be called television. So I was out there as an entrepreneur for about 10 years. Great experience, had about 40 people working for us on both coasts. I finished up my run working for, let's just call them other people. I finished that run up at Audible. I was part of the audiobook innovator back in 2017, had a good experience there. And then in 2018, I was, let's make the list, shall we?
Yes.
Restructured, job eliminated, let go, terminated,
Promoted,
fired, killed, destroyed, assassinated. But I just want to say, Dave and John, it wasn't personal. It's just business.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Never feels personal. Not at all.
So I'm sitting at home in the summer of 2018 after that crazy long journey that I just described, and I'm doing the thing you do, sending out resumes and cover letters and calling all my greatest work friends in my life saying, Dave, got anything?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Who do you know?
And you know how those conversations end, like, you know, John, listen, you're a great guy. I don't have anything right now, but I'll keep you in mind. And, you know, I had a lot of mouths to feed. I was really getting, let's call it miffed. I was miffed.
Yeah.
And so one day in a state of miffment, I grabbed my iPhone, I pressed record, and I made a short little 2-minute video talking about my predicament. I said, no notes, no script. I just said, look, what's going to come out of my mouth right now is not unique. And a lot of friends of mine are in the same boat. But what is this new religion about ghosting? And how is it that people don't respond to the world's greatest email and resume?
Right.
And what happened to all these people that were kind of sort of like my friends? And why aren't they emailing me back? And all this dribble came out of my mouth. And the point of the video was to say, look, why don't some of us at least put our heads together, start talking about this, see if we can't help each other get out of this predicament, because we're not supposed to be at home. We have too much. We've got too much to offer. So I upload the video to LinkedIn and Facebook about 9 o'clock in the morning, and my phone starts blowing up. And by the time it got to evening, there were 600 lengthy comments under this one mopey video. And it hit about 16,000 views in the first day. So I woke up on day 2 and I cracked the mic and I said, all right, this is video number 2 called Struck a Nerve. Let's keep talking. At this point, I still have no idea what this means, except for the fact that my phone is blowing up and I figure I should keep going. It took about 8 or 9 days for a gentleman to call and say, listen, I met you at MTV 100 years ago. I love these videos. I'm running my own business and I need a chief operating officer. Is that what this is? You're a headhunter, right? And I went,
I am now.
I didn't pause.
Bingo.
I just said, yes, of course. You know, and then there was no Zooming way back in 2018. So I muted his phone call and I start furiously typing into the Google search bar, recruiter, headhunter, fee, commission, retainer. You know, I'm Googling, and he's talking about his wonderful company. And I'm answering these questions like you guys, like I know what I'm doing. I'm just hitting it out of the park. And he gets to the end of the call and says, Rob, let's do it. And I don't often weep. I rarely cry, but a little tear, formed in my eye. When I hung up this phone call, I realized that I had this answer about what to do with all the professional people I'd known for the last, at that point, because I'm a lot older than you guys, about 40 years of work, right? I realized instead of calling them up and going, you got anything for me? It was a different phone call. It was a phone call to say, if you have a senior level opening, I know how to fill that. We've worked together for dozens of years, and we can get into this if you like, but I have a life-threatening food allergy. It's an allergy to HR people and, frankly, even internal recruiters. If I go near them, I die. So my way of doing this is that there's only got to be one person on the company side for me. If it isn't the CEO or the president, it is the senior most hiring manager. And that way, if I have a candidate that I know is perfectly qualified, the only thing that's left is chemistry. And I want the chemistry to be between potential employer and hiring manager. I don't want to wait. I don't want to go through you have to work with our company. And I don't do that. I just go direct. So that was, 3.5 years ago. And thank God it worked. And I do love it. Honestly, I have to say that what the three of us are in, for me, it is a real wonderful mission to just stop making my career about my career and start making my career about other people's careers and helping them just cut through all the red tape and the nonsense.
Well said. And I also have an aversion to HR. I call it sales prevention. So I'm right there with you. I feel every ounce of your pain. One thing you said, man, it sounds like you jumped out of the airplane and started building the parachute on the way down, which is awesome. It's also a little disheartening because you didn't know what you were doing, but you're negotiating fat fees with ridiculous clients. I mean, I've seen some of the job postings that you're putting out there. And I mean, these are not like B-level companies. I mean, you may have heard of a couple of them. If you go to Rob's webpage and you can subscribe to his newsletter, but I mean, he's got job postings for days, and they are with legit companies. So it's disconcerting because I had to learn how to do this working at Robert Half under slave wages and people whipping me and in a bullpen and slapping me on the back of the head if I didn't make enough phone calls. And it sounds like you just leveraged your network to build a recruiting business, which kind of the holy grail, man. Kudos to you. Got to give it up.
Oh, thank you. I did something else, and it just occurred to me that it was so important to offer job seekers as many free services as possible. So the next couple of pages in my playbook, I just took from people that I've really respected and learned from and followed over the years. One of them is a man named Seth Godin, Godin, and Seth's written, a countless number of best-selling books about marketing. He's a really brilliant guy, and I was lucky enough to have him blurb the back of my book. But, Seth's philosophy about building a business as an entrepreneur is that you give away the best of what you can offer people for free on a constant daily basis, knowing that some of those people will eventually need a little bit more of our time and fork over a couple of bucks. But, Seth's mission and vision of giving it away, for me, started first with a Sunday morning email, a free subscription where we send out job links to folks. And that, has really built because it's just got a lot in there for job seekers. Every Sunday morning, we send it out at the mystical spinal tap time of 11:11 a.m. on Sundays. But then we built this website, robbarnettmedia.com, and the idea there is it's also free to any job seeker. It's private, meaning companies can't just go in and poke around for folks, but my staff knows who's in there. Everybody's uploaded their information. Anyone that's inside our site can apply to any job for free. So ideally, a job seeker would always, of course, pay us $0, and we get our fees from the company. If job seekers want a lot more hand-to-hand combat, then we offer what we simply call sessions, and we work with people one-on-one off a little a la carte menu to just do a lot more blocking and tackling.
I swear, like it's almost like we grew up with this guy. He's using the same terminology we are. We say blocking and tackling. He's talking about making deposits.
He might not be
instead of withdrawals.
As much older than us as he thinks he is.
I know. He probably is a
He
little
worked at
out
MTV.
there.
He's Gen X for
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. And I want to dig into that, by the way. I have questions.
Yeah, let's back up a little bit. Like, okay, so your first DJ job, what format was the station? What kind of music were you spinning?
Only one flavor for this boy, rock and roll from day one.
Okay.
Day
Nice.
one. I was in the college dorm. I think it was maybe week number 1, and the RA on the floor comes down and starts bragging to a bunch of us that he's got a radio show. We should come see it, So the man who is now still to this day my best friend, Mike, and I walked down to the radio station, and we watched this guy do the worst radio show we've ever seen in our life. And Mike and I looked at each other, and it was like that moment in the Blues Brothers when Jake and Elwood walk into the church and James Brown's there and the light hits them. It was like, that's it. That we know what we're gonna do.
We can do this. So where were you physically? Were you in Boston? Were you in the Midwest?
Boston, yeah.
Boston.
This unknown little college town, yeah.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
And what year is this?
The 70s, man.
Okay.
Okay.
So you had a good catalog to choose from at this point. Yes.
Late 70s. Look, FM rock radio was only created in the late 60s.
Right.
So when I got into it, it was still only about 10 years old, and the wizards who created the whole thing were still working, and I was like their little, stupid intern or whatever. So I was learning from the masters before consultants came in and sucked all the creativity and freedom out of it. In the early days, it was really magical creation. I mean, you could sit down on a mic in a major city in this country, say what you want, and play what you want.
Yeah. And I imagine you played more. There was more music than advertisement back then.
Yeah, there were not 20 minutes of commercials per hour. That was not the format. No.
Yeah, and I can't even listen to terrestrial radio anymore.
I don't even know what that is
because of that.
I don't know what that is. I will say
this. I'll give a plug to. Believe it or not, we're in St. Augustine, Florida, Rob, and we do have a college here, Flagler College.
Yes.
And they have a radio station.
They do.
And it's the coolest radio station I've ever heard because...
Of course it is. Of course it is.
It is to say it's omni format is an understatement.
Okay.
There's heavy metal on Wednesday nights. There's jazz in the morning, classical. There's reggae on Sunday.
It's the Wild West.
It is everything and anything. There's very few ads. The ads are local companies who are supporters of the program that make it possible.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's a great radio station. So that is the only one I listen to, and that's Flagler College Radio 89.
That's the only thing I miss about living in Los Angeles is they had and they don't anymore because LA sucks now, but they had a show called Rodney on the Rock, and this guy, you know the one, you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah, and
legend.
Just an amazing show that he would do on Sunday nights, and he would play stuff you'd never heard and famous bands, live LPs. I mean, it was fantastic. It was like what radio was.
I actually worked there in the late 80s at K-Rock.
You worked for KROQ? Yeah, that must have been a horrible gig. Did you know Jed the Fish?
Yes, I did.
All right.
Awesome, man. That's a great segue. So I have a question for you. I see here that you worked at MTV and VH1 and you did some production work. One of the people that you mentioned in your bio is Johnny Rotten. Now, I got to know, is he as cantankerous in person as he seems? Oh, yes. Love it. I actually got grounded for buying a Sex Pistols album when I was 13. But
good for you.
Right? It was really a trendsetter.
I love John Lyden. We met when I worked at VH1 through an old radio friend of mine said, "Do you want to meet John Lyden?" And I said, "More than anything in my life, do I want to meet Johnny Rotten." And we had an idea that we should talk the father of punk into doing his first ever television show. And we simply called it Rotten Television. It took about 2 years of lunches, dinners, drinks, and drinks to talk him into this. And then once we talked him into it, we had this show on VH1. This was, I want to say late 90s. And he's 2 or 3 people. Okay. One person is one of the most brilliant media manipulators of all time. I mean, brilliant.
I believe that.
The other is a crazed madman who will snap your neck off if you look at him the wrong way.
Believe
And
that too.
the third one is one of the most devoted, loving, loyal, married men in the world to a wonderful woman who these days is just terribly suffering from Alzheimer's and dementia. You know, if people see pictures of John and notice that he's ballooned up, you know, to this crazy weight and all that, it's not because he's a bad guy. It's because his heart is broken. He's a beautiful, brilliant guy. And I truly learned so much from him about how to behave in business. And one of the things I learned more than anything was to always tell the truth, never fake it, never sort of sit there and be one of these corporate stooges. And the minute that somebody pulls that sort of typical, you know, executive BS with John, and you've probably seen it happen live on the air many times. Microphone comes off, he leaves, you know. Now it's funny, but it's also making a point, right? Because if you're the opposite, if you're straight up with him, he said to me once, you know how you want to build trust with someone in business? Deliver the bad news. Tell me what's wrong and tell me immediately. Don't sugarcoat it. Don't try to hide it. Tell me what's wrong. I thought that was a great wisdom.
Great advice, yeah.
Dave has a line that he's dropped on me on more than one occasion when I've maybe effed up a little bit. But he says the best time to defuse a bomb is before it goes off, right? And I think that's very similar. The best time to defuse a bomb is before it goes off. Maybe I'm stretching. I don't know.
And
I'm just a dumb recruiter.
I stole that from David Sandler.
Oh, whatever.
Or it was taught to me by David Sandler.
Doesn't matter. I got it from you.
All right.
You get the credit on this one. Thank you for sharing that, by the way.
Yeah, that's a great story.
Hero of mine. And I love the Sex Pistols. I love Pill even more, which is weird. Most people don't even know about Pill, but I do. Love it. Best name of a company ever, My Damn Channel. Got to throw that out there.
What's
That's
that
awesome.
from? What's the context?
That's the YouTube channel he was running where he was. And again, Rob, it sounds to me like you're kind of ahead of what's happening in media by a couple of years. So before this is over, don't think for a second I'm not going to ask you what's coming next, because I want to know and I want to invest. But yeah, My Damn Channel, great ad there. And then you went to go work for Audible, which I've heard of them. I believe they're an Amazon company.
They are now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So were they part of Amazon when you were there, or was it just like pure startup? Okay.
No. Yeah, I worked there in 2017, so they're well established.
Okay. Very cool.
All right. Well, I think Rob's got the chops to do the rest of the show.
Yeah.
We don't have to cut it off now. We'll keep going. We'll ask him some more questions.
Yeah, I thought we were gonna have to bail and like go to a live stream of you playing chess. But no, this is great. This is gonna work out.
Not yet. So I have a question for you, Rob. We've talked a little bit offline about the Great Resignation, and you have some opinions about this, and you almost referred to it as the Great Reassessment. Or maybe as supplemented it as the Great Reassessment, as the Great Resignation. Can you explain to us a little bit what you mean about that? Because I think this is an interesting take on how this might have morphed since it was kind of coined. And I think it's probably the opposite direction of where some people are trying to take it today.
Yeah, well, there's absolutely no question that the horrors that this world has experienced from COVID have also created a real silver lining. There is positivity that has come out of all this. And, you know, when we started in the spring of 2020 with the pandemic, the number that will always remain in my mind, because we were out there trying to sell a new book at that moment, was 41 million people filing for unemployment. 41 million people.
Yep.
And so, you know, the world economically, but in our neck of the world, neck of the world or neck of the woods? In our
Either way,
necks,
it doesn't matter.
in our necks, the world of hiring just stopped, froze, right? And people were completely just on pause for a tremendous long period of time. And then all of a sudden in these last couple of months, hiring is on the rise like crazy. I mean, we've seen it in so many different ways in our small company. On the one hand, we have many more companies coming in to use us as a headhunter. On the other hand, we'll go looking for potential candidates over these last few weeks on LinkedIn.
Good luck.
And we go looking for people and we go, oh, here's someone that looks great. And then we open up her profile and it says that she started her new job in October of 2021. We go, oh, we can't call her. Let's go to the next person. Oh, here's a guy. Look at this guy. He looks great. We open it up, started his new job in September of 2021. So the economy has completely gone, from the worst possible conditions now to some of the most interesting and positive ones. And one of the other silver linings that we all have seen is that the notion that every new job hire has to be chained to a desk from early in the morning till sometime in the evening, 5 days a week, commuting, spending all that money. I think that we have seen that now become something that will have been changed forever.
Yeah.
Yes, there will still be companies that'll figure out how to get back to the old-fashioned way of everybody sitting at their desk. But more than not, there's going to be companies that, just create so much more flexibility. So all of these conditions and many more led first to what a lot of people wanted to write about, the Great Resignation. But I think that a deeper way of looking at it is a reassessment, really on both sides of the hiring table, right? Let's do job seekers, let's do candidates, let's do employers first, and then we'll do companies. And interrupt me at any point, because I'm really curious to see what you guys think. What I've noticed, I was interviewing a lady yesterday for a job, and she currently is employed. She's working for a major company, but she has a pretty hefty commute. This company, as of now, we're taping this November 4th, 2021. So God only knows what will happen if people listen to this episode a year from now. As of now, the major company that she works for in a major city is asking her to come in 3 days a week and work remote 2 days a week. Now, she's got a hell of a commute. Her commute is a good, on a great day, it's an hour. On a bad day, it's an hour and a half. It's expensive. And again, let's just call this part of the old world, right?
Right.
But this lady is now reassessing things, tasting the new world. Oh, and by the way, guess what 2 days she's currently working from home? Come on, guess.
Monday and Friday.
Heck yeah. Monday and Friday.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. Why wouldn't you?
So here comes Rob, recruiter guy, yesterday, trying to get her all excited about leaving the company she's in to go to another company for more money, in a great role that she's totally qualified for. And as we get deeper into the call, she asks me what their policy is. And of course I say, well, interestingly enough, they're looking for 3 days a week in the office and 2 days remote. And of course, God bless her, she had the boldness to say, can we make it 2 days a week in the office and 3 days a week at home? So, there's all this new pushing and pulling going on both sides of the hiring table, where candidates have, let's just call them employees have tasted so much of this flexibility that people are not going to want to give it all up if possible, right? Now, on the company side, just one quick more anecdote for you, and then I'll shut the heck up. On the company side, just placed, I guess we can talk about this openly. Why not? I just placed a guy in a huge job at GQ, part of Condé Nast. And I poached this gentleman from Nike, based in Portland, where he had moved not that many years ago with his family.
For his dream job at Nike.
We get deep into the process where, of course, they're thinking, he's going to have to up and move to New York. Condé Nast is based in the Freedom Tower right there at the World Trade Center. And we get down to the end where he's the guy they want. I've got to get him out of one of the coolest companies in the world. And we're dealing with the senior level of executive management at Condé Nast. And when we get right down to it, guess what? Stay in Portland.
We're cool. Just do your job. Yeah.
Do your job.
That's remarkable.
That's not the way I thought that story was going to end.
Me neither.
Yeah.
I'm glad it worked out though. It's so interesting.
Well, I'll give you one more,
please.
Dave.
Yeah.
I just lost a lady for a company that needed her to move from the East Coast of the US of A to lovely Seattle. And it was a great job. They wanted her. The offer was there. But in the end, person didn't want to up and move and no hybrid, right? In the office every day in Seattle. That's a big decision. So, I just want to tell every job seeker that's listening to three of us right now, if you're living in one part of the country and you see an opportunity for a job in another part of the country, apply, get into it. Maybe there's a chance.
Doesn't hurt.
Maybe there's a chance that you can live in one place and work in another. And I see it happen every day of the week.
You touched on a couple of things, Rob, and I just for some of the people that listen to us, they have no idea what it looks like to live on the East Coast or in LA, right? So when you're talking about the commute in, it's not just the commute, it's the cost. It's
oh my God, the cost is amazing.
I got to pay tolls. I got to pay a fee to park my car in the city.
That's nothing compared to 3 hours a day. I mean, you're talking about 15 hours.
Absolutely.
That's almost a part-time job driving
100%.
that you're not getting paid for.
And that's kind of my point is that, Rob has come into the business relatively recently. And so when I started at Robert Half, these were part of the salary negotiations that we would take into account, right? So the entire dynamic of the recruiting industry and the job search industry has changed because of this stuff in a lot of ways. The flexibility and what you're seeing today is, I agree with you, by the way. I think employees are looking around and going, we don't have to do it this way anymore. We don't have to come in every day. There are plenty of companies that are willing to hire us. Do you think that long term that it will come back around, or do you think this is going to be the way it is from here on out? Do you feel like
really
this is it?
I really do believe that this increased flexibility is permanent. I really do. I think that if every single one of us is safe from the losing our lives and we've got 3 shots in us and we've got this thing that's killed, over 600,000 people under control. I believe that the flexibility in more companies than not about a hybrid work schedule is now permanent. I really do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to figure out where to start.
Go ahead.
Yeah. So the flex, it's almost like, okay, so some of us, especially in tech, have known remote was a viable option for a long time.
For decades.
My first remote job, as I've mentioned before on the show, was in 1995, right? I mean, the internet was new. There were no data centers.
Right.
You had modem connections. Like if you wanted a real connection, you had to find a city with a data center. The closest one to Jacksonville was Orlando. And they were figuring out as they went along. And when that one dried up, we ended up finding a data center in Blacksburg, Virginia, at Virginia Tech. So we were working while we were in college, and we were, modem connection and telnetting into these machines, far away. Now, with the advent of PPP connections, broadband, VPNs, all of this stuff became much more possible at large corporations that had to worry about info security and those types of things. And a lot of the learning curve had been flattened out by the time COVID hit. As you remember, I was on Tom McManus's show right as the pandemic was hitting. Boston College guy you might have heard of.
Tommy Mack played for the Jags.
Yeah, he played at Boston College. And he was a linebacker for the Jaguars for a couple years. So he has a media company in Jacksonville, and he was like, "What's going on?" And we're like, "Hey, in IT, we've practiced for this before.
Yeah.
Like this is what we do in hurricanes. This is what we do in major disasters. This is contingency plans that we've all been bitten by, over the last 20, 30 years, and we've taken care of it." So I'll kind of tie all this back together. I think what COVID did was force companies to take that first leap of really risk and cost of getting their workforce acclimated to working from home, because a large percentage of the workforce didn't know how to.
Right.
Yeah. It sounds easy,
Yeah.
but I can promise you, with children and dogs and a door that maybe an office without a closing door,
Diabetic cats.
John's cat, the lawn people who show up during your Friday sales call every week,
every single time, no matter what you do. Yeah.
That's my number one complaint is the lawn people. Yes.
Yeah.
That's it.
And it doesn't matter what you do. You can put the request
your neighbor
in.
decides to get a new driveway
or a new
jackhammers.
roof.
Yeah. But my point is people had to adjust and people had to be flexible. And I think it kind of forced everybody's hand.
Yeah.
It's definitely not for everyone. I think the people who can't hack it are just going to get naturally weeded out and have to go find jobs where they are in a place with the structure and the boundaries that they need to be successful, or they'll just keep bouncing remote to remote to remote until
it's over,
until the standards been lowered or something like that.
So
you're going to say?
I had a question after you're done. I was curious as to how the remote work and the lack of having to go into the office has impacted the offers that you're getting, the salary offers. Are they staying in line with what you were seeing before the pandemic? Are they up? Are they down? How do the compensation negotiations go now that remote is an option?
Well, it's hard to generalize. And, I think it's important to share with the audience that, my own personal history defines a lot of my present, meaning I'm a media guy, right? I'm, anything that is touching media is the kind of work that goes through our company. I try to stay away from industries that I really don't know about. So, but media is a large one. I do think that there's a trend now for companies to be very specific about what that range of salary is. I think that it's really important for every job seeker listening to us to never waste the first ever interview without figuring out a clear understanding of what the range of pay is for the role that's open. You can waste so much time trying to be coy about this and say, I hope they love me. I hope they love me. Maybe we'll talk about money on the third call or the fourth call. So I try to make sure in the first ever contact that I have as a headhunter with a job seeker and that I have as a headhunter with a company that we're crystal clear about the range. And then when a company, to answer your question, when a company tells me the range of salary, I'll just pull one out of the hat and say 90,000 to 110 on the base. I know that means I can get 115, maybe even a little bit more than 115, but it depends on the leverage that you've got with a candidate that's then chosen as a finalist. But, I think that the salary negotiation is something that so many people are kind of secretly afraid of. I like to make it a lot more overt and just bring it up and get into it,
Hit it between the eyes.
By the way, and you guys probably know this, but I have to study it state by state by state because it's not federal, but this new regulation that's taking place in a lot of states now is that an employee does not have to tell a potential employer what their current salary is. That is so positive for candidates and for a job seeker. It's powerful. It's powerfully helpful. If you're listening to us right now, you got to look it up because it's state by state. It's not federal, but what a great, powerful new tool in the tool belt of a job seeker,
You brought tears to my eyes now. I'm not going to lie to you. I got emotional listening to that.
John and I have known each other for a few 15 or so years now, but I know that he's been around me when I've taken calls from recruiters, and I always make him laugh because it's
brutal.
It is brutal, but it's like, I got stuff to do.
It's succinct is what it is.
And I've only taken a couple thousand of these calls. Since I've
brutal because why? It's just like a boring robotic checklist, or what?
No, it's brutal for the recruiter because here's how it goes. It's like, hey, Dave, this is recruiter Rob. I got a great software job for you in Minnesota. Can you start in December? And I'll just weed through all that stuff, and I just say, I only work remote. I require this much per hour, corp to corp. And that's how I start the conversation. Can you do that? Because if you can't, there's no need to talk about what I've done in my life or
anything beyond
where Minnesota is.
Yeah, it's very succinct, very clinical. And I, it's funny because the first time I heard him do it, it really, really threw me off. Right. Like, because again, I'm a recruiter. I'm a year into it. Like I'm used to like cajoling and talking people off ledges and using flowery words. And then you
don't like saying no.
I hate
delivering bad news.
I hate saying no.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing in the world for me. But then I see Dave talking to these recruiters with like clinical precision, and it finally clicked because really he's doing them a favor. He's saving them time. He's saving everybody time. And when I started to approach it that way with candidates and saying, hey, this is not a help desk job. Here's how much it pays. Here are the options that I have. Are you interested in talking? My success rate went up immediately. So that transparency, that upfront contract,
it's the bomb that gets diffused.
Absolutely.
Right up front.
Yeah.
And it's what, like when I first started recruiting and we had the staffing company in late 90s, like we would get all the way through.
Yeah.
Right. This 2-week process. And then the candidate would say, well, I know you told me 3 weeks ago that the pay rate was $75 an hour, but I really need $95.
But yeah.
And it's like, I can't do anything with that now, man.
Not
what
now.
What am I supposed to do with that?
Yeah.
So I have a famous saying, Rob, and you can use this if you want. When I talk to candidates and we start talking about money and I get them to agree to a price, and I say, okay, now we're going to make a deal. And they go, okay. I say, if you don't ask for more money when I bring you the job offer, I promise I won't offer you less money when you accept the job offer. And they undoubtedly laugh. And to this date, after using that, I haven't had anybody try to up the offer on me.
Yeah.
Maybe one time, and I said, sorry. And that was the end of the conversation.
It was probably one of my candidates.
Yeah. It's like disciplining children, though. You have to mean it when you say it, and you can't budge.
Yeah. So yeah, hearing you talk about that up front and having that salary discussion up front, it's one of those things that candidates are really uncomfortable doing, right? They really are, unless they've gone through this a couple of times. And it's always remarkable to me because it's really the most important part about the job.
Yeah.
Right? Like this is literally what we're doing here today.
There's a small sliver of people that don't work for the money. So most of the people that we talk to as recruiters are
in it for the green.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're either trying to make the same to have a better work situation, or they're trying to do a lateral move and make more money, or
upgrade,
or both.
Yep. It's awesome. So go ahead, man.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask Rob, because we got about 10 minutes left. Tell us a little bit about your book, Next Job, Best Job. Sorry.
We're going to read it.
I might not. I just not a reader. It's not personal.
Listen to it.
It's not personal.
I did an audiobook.
Did you narrate it or did you outsource that?
No, me, man.
Nice.
8 hours of
Nice.
yakking.
That's
hard.
legit. I'll check that out.
All right.
That's awesome.
All right.
Okay.
That was hard.
I'll try that way. I just can't read. I got 3 books that I'm like a third of the way through right now, and I'm just.
I understand.
I've I've stumped myself.
I see you doing other things. You're okay.
So tell us a little bit about how did you come up with the title? What is the main theme of the book, and what can readers expect to get out of it after they go purchase it this afternoon?
Well, Next Job, Best Job is about digging deep inside yourself to say, what is the job that I really want to be doing? Not just another one, not just a next one, but the one that is living in that sacred place called your heart. What do you really, really think is the job that you want to do the most? And we call that your North Star. And I really believe that there are 11 strategies in this book. There are 11 chapters, but the chapter 4 called Your North Star is the single most important point of the book. You know, we all just got this master class in this world of insanity for the last couple of years called Life is Too Short. So I really want people to go through a simple 3-step process from the heart to the head to then proving it on the stupid LinkedIn and the stupid resume that you are and can be who you say you are. Because I believe that companies are getting much more interested in specialists and everything that I can see rather than looking at generalists. So the mistake that I started to see when I started headhunting for so many people on a LinkedIn and a resume was this syndrome that we call butcher, baker, candlestick maker. People on the top of the LinkedIn say, you know, business development / sales / marketing / cat juggler. And there must be a lot of professional advice out there from people who do what the three of us do for a living that says, hey, you're stuck, you're out of work, you need a job. Why don't you put all 4 of those things up there? That'll increase your odds 4-fold. I believe the complete polar opposite, that if the roof is leaking inside a company, the owner wants one thing and one thing only, ROOFER, roofer. So I'm on a mission to try to get job seekers to really hunker down and say, who am I? And say that in the fewest vowels and in the fewest consonants. So in the book, that's the concept called the North Star. Then we have chapters that take you through exactly how to write the resume in a LinkedIn, unlike a robotic copycat of everyone else's resume and LinkedIn. I'm just over the obsession that every resume and LinkedIn writer has with using, you know, phrases like, I have great oral and written communication skills. Well, great. You're a freaking adult, you know? Or
so you're literate. Awesome.
I guess what I do, I take every project from inception to where?
Completion.
Nobody as opposed
does that.
to, you know,
under
getting
budget,
hired, taking
under
the
budget,
money.
and under
on time.
On time and under budget. So you know, we're trying to work with every single candidate to find a way to write those documents like an actual living, breathing human being that can distinguish yourself as being different and, God willing, better than the other candidates, as opposed to same. So in the book, there's 3 chapters in the beginning about getting over the pain and agony of losing your last job. That took 3 whole chapters because it's brutal. Then we talk the North Star. Then we get into all of the materials that are needed, including the cover letter, which, by the way, here's a secret on that one. This has been getting more people hired in the last year than anything else I've done. A cover letter is normally me. And what we've been telling everyone to do is make the cover letter much more about the company than just about singing your greatest hits. The candidates who prove that they've done more homework about the specifics of what's actually going on in that company in this moment and put that in the cover letter are the candidates that are going to be taken a lot more seriously than the ones that are just saying, I have 18 years of experience. Come on, guys, say it with me. Yeah. And a proven track record of success.
Yeah.
You know, this is really a book about getting out there and doing that crazy, awful, terrible, scary thing called marketing yourself and branding yourself and selling yourself. People just feel like these are dirty words, but the most famous people we've ever looked up to in our lives in any field do X minutes every day of the actual work that they do and more minutes every day promoting the actual work that they do.
Yeah.
So I just want people to understand that those are table stakes in the poker game of, getting picked and getting hired. You gotta sell, and stop getting over the fact that that's somehow a dirty thing to do.
Yeah, that's great advice. And one of the trends that I've seen in people who are happy with their job is that they've managed to stumble into doing something, getting paid for something that they like to do, right?
Yeah, or they targeted it. Yeah.
Or they targeted it.
Yep.
Yeah. Very. So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
For Rob.
Go ahead.
How do I phrase this so I don't lead the witness? Let's say we wake up tomorrow and there is no LinkedIn. Is the world a better or worse place?
Great question.
Oh, it's a worse place. LinkedIn is home base as far as I'm concerned.
Really? Okay.
It really is where it all happens for me. But I just want to say something else that's important about any job seeking site and any job candidate listening to us. Okay. I don't think you should ever upload a cold resume ever, anywhere, to any job site. It's largely just bad odds. I think that job seekers have to find a way to find people who work inside a company that can help open a door. This idea of just uploading 100 cold resumes a day, I just feel like, I love the concept of the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. Yeah. I feel like in job search, it's like 1 degree, get to Kevin, right? Yeah. Figure out some way to get to Kevin Bacon. But back to your original question, no, I think that if you're using LinkedIn to find people in companies where you want to be, that's time well spent. If you're using LinkedIn to set up job alerts at companies where you want to be, that is time well spent, because then you turn it upside down. Instead of rando surfing for job links, you're getting emails the minute job opportunities are posted, and that just makes your search a hell of a lot more targeted than rando surfing, which I also think is like something that people should just stop doing. It's
so you're using it more like
say, where do I want to be, and how do I find out what's going on at the places where I want to be?
Yeah, you're applying marketing and business development methodology to a job search.
Yeah, he's using it like a pure old-fashioned job board and resume bank, and it sounds like maybe largely ignoring a lot of the social media aspect of it, which just tends to not do much for my brain.
I know we only have a few minutes, but I need to get this out of the way, because I've been listening to Rob for, I don't know, a while now, about almost an hour.
Okay.
Got a little bit of a man crush. I'm not going to lie. I'd go work for that guy. He's got the right idea when it comes to recruiting, and like everything he's saying. I'm like, yeah, I've told candidates to do that. I've told candidates, hey, I need you to research this company. Call me in an hour and tell me what you learned, or I can't move forward with you. Right? Like on the initial application, like tell me what you like about the company. You have to be ready for this. So I hear all this stuff. It's amazing. Do you work with agencies? Do you do training for other recruiters, or is it all candidate focused in terms of your sessions, your coaching, and those opportunities?
We haven't, but the idea actually was proposed to us just last week with a really interesting nonprofit that is now working to introduce a more diverse array of candidates to companies who are looking to, change the culture. Mm-hmm. And they asked us the same question you asked us. And I said, sure, we'd partner up. We haven't, done that before. My A game is getting more companies to understand that we're great at what we do, and we only work as exclusive and retained headhunters. That's the A game. Then the B game is these sessions that people can sign up for at robbarnettmedia.com. That's where we can work one-on-one with candidates. And then, of course, the C game now is humping my book.
Well, yeah, it seems like you're doing all the right things. You're talking about the holy grail of executive search, the retained search, and it's funny because you assume that like there's no other way to do headhunting, right? No, there are. You're just doing it the right way.
I was scared at first, honestly. Yeah. I was scared at first because I didn't know anything about it, because I had never done it, because I really needed to feed my hungry mouths. I was doing these contingent searches, but I realized that you put so much time and money and effort into it. And if you haven't been given any money up front, you've just worked your ass off for free. It's just a sucker's game. So I finally had to get the bravery of saying, gotta, pay us to start doing the voodoo that we do so well. But then that final payment is only paid in success if we place the client. And then we, of course, guarantee that last payment so that, God forbid, if somebody wrote an off-color tweet 9 years ago, we're giving our money back.
That never happens. Come on.
Yeah. I love the idea of, and it took me forever to learn to do this, and I wasted so much time and effort not getting paid. Way too much. But yeah, I mean, it's you kind of set the upfront contract of the value of the work product that you do and the time that you're going to invest in it. And if they want to have 3 companies search for it, congratulations to the other 2. One of them's going to lose big and one of them's going to just get paid. Mm-hmm. Right? There's no lottery winner in this thing. Right? I mean, your options are make nothing or make a fair amount. Mm-hmm. And I like the idea of setting those expectations, and then it you get all your candidates funneled through the same process. Mm-hmm. They all get through the same screening. They all get asked the same interview questions. Yep. And we've heard it straight from the hiring managers. They love having 1 or 2 good resumes who are ready to start on Monday versus 10 crappy ones that they got to do all the work for.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that is such a great one. Yes. The companies that like us the most are the companies who get candidates a small list of perfectly vetted people. Yep. Helps them do their job so much better than here's 15 resumes. What do you like? I feel like we have to do as much of the work for them as possible.
I can tell
we
you.
We even do the reference checks. We check the references. We send them a Bible at the end, just verbatim interviews with as many folks as we can get to who've worked with, or employed these folks in the past.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say that you never, ever have to send the email with the subject line feedback ? Like you don't ever have to solicit feedback, do you? Like they'll tell you, like, this is a great candidate. You're not ever following up and going, hey, what'd you think?
Well, no, we really do. We check in every step of the way, right? When I have a candidate doing an interview at 2:00, about 2:35, I email them. I go, how did it go? But I don't just say how it go. I give them a whole list of questions that I need answered about how the candidate thought it went. Then I send a different email to the hiring manager and go, how'd they do? And I want those questions answered right away, because I feel, I'll end on this note. I think that the greatest service any of us can offer hiring managers and candidates is quick, immediate responsiveness. The opposite is the norm, and it's brutal and painful for everyone involved to just wait, and not hear back about whether you're in or you're out. I just feel like if we can do that, if we can just get back to people as quickly as possible, we're halfway to being good at what we do.
I was having a conversation with someone in a large company yesterday who said they were having trouble with candidate flow, and he knew that his company was ghosting their candidates that didn't get selected. And he's like, what do you think about that? I said, hey, I think you need an applicant tracking system. I said, in Brightmove, It doesn't matter if you have three candidates that you didn't pick or 30,000. It's the same 3 clicks to select all, pick an email template, and send it out.
Yeah.
And it records it. You know that you responded to them. If you have great text and email integration, any response that comes back, positive or negative, gets recorded on the applicant record. And
it closes the loop emotionally.
There's no excuse technologically or from a human standpoint.
That's awesome.
Morally, right?
Yeah.
Well, I've really enjoyed our conversation with you,
me
Rob.
too,
I'm
Rob.
going to listen to the book for sure. And Rob, just between us, I'm cool. I'm happy.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Your reference check's not going to be as good as you think.
No, this has been awesome.
Guys.
I can't wait to listen.
John drinks every day at lunch.
Happy to follow up with you and any of the people that listen to this that want to reach us. We're so easy to find. The whole thing is robbarnettmedia.com. And if you send that link to folks, we're happy to help as many people as we can.
Awesome.
Yep. We'll put that in the show notes, and we do appreciate you taking the time to join us today, Rob. I hope to have you on again. It's been great, and I think there's just so much more that we could talk about if we had another couple hours. So
thanks
again. And Rob, hang on the call after the outro. We'll pick you back up. Give us about 1 minute.
Thanks, man.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Yep. Everyone, thank you for tuning in today, and we will see you next week at 1 p.m. on Thursday for RecruiterCast episode number 90. And until then, happy recruiting.
You're listening to RecruiterCast Live. Thanks for listening to RecruiterCast Live with your host, Dave Webb. Make sure to follow RecruiterCast on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram at RecruiterCast. Check out RecruiterCast on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe now.
RecruiterCast is brought to you by Brightmove, named the top talent management technology provider in HRO today. Learn more at brightmove.com.
Let's talk.